Hi friends, I am out in my greenhouse and I have some chores to do out here. It is time, my greenhouse kind of becomes a catch-all during the winter. And this is even cleaned up. You can see that the squash have been moved inside, but it's time to reclaim the greenhouse in preparation for starting spring seeds. But I also wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about some of the emotional struggles that me and a lot of other gardeners have during the winter. We are so tied to the sun and to the earth, and during this time of rest, our society tells us that that's not really like allowed. And so I've been working really hard on allowing myself to rest. I have some things coming up. They're going to require that, which also means that I need to do some prep work. But I wanted to talk about a couple of the things that I do during the winter to try to help, one, bring me joy, like bring back the joy that my garden brings to me, and the peace and the sense of purpose that my garden brings to me, which is missing in the winter during these like dark, colder months. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, you know that we can go days and days and days without seeing the sun. Not like in Alaska or up further north, just the cloud cover is pretty much constant all winter long. We get rare, beautiful days, but they're few and far between. So I showed you my amaryllis at the beginning of this. I force an amaryllis bulb every winter, and I get so much delight in that one glorious, beautiful flower. It's such a hopeful reminder of what will come next summer, of what's waiting for me. And then I plant those amaryllis bulbs in pots. And I don't know if you remember from my garden tour last year, but I always pointed out when the amaryllis bloomed. And that's my amaryllis from 2 years ago. I'm not always successful with getting them to bloom, and sometimes they don't survive the winter, but last year I did have one. And hopefully this one, which is glorious, will also bloom for me. I don't think it will bloom this summer, but I think it will bloom next summer, I think is how they go. I probably should look that up. So the first thing I want to do is, I'm in my greenhouse, but I actually am going to go outside. I have a plant to put in, an abelia, in my flower bed of frustration. It's one of the new plants I'm trying, so let's head out there. So here is my new abelia plant. I went into one of my favorite garden centers called Starkey's Corner and asked one of the people there about this kind of strange spot that I have, my flower bed of frustration that gets weird amounts of sun. It's not quite shaded, it's not quite it gets enough sun for a lot of things. This is the west side. It gets a little bit more sun than this side, that's the west side. So I just have been trying different things, and this abelia was one of the things that they recommended. So I have it here in a pot, and it's been sitting here for a while, just happily waiting for me. It has really pretty foliage, doesn't it? So I've dug a hole, and I'm gonna go ahead and plop that in there, right? And there she is, all settled in. I thought I'd show you the back of this if you were interested. So this plant should get to be, it's a bush, and it should get to be no more than 30 inches tall. It says full sun. However, the person who was helping me at the plant center said that they will tolerate less than full sun. So I am hopeful. I am hopeful. In the middle of summer, she will get about 4 hours of sun. I hope that's enough. We're gonna find out in this perpetual experiment of this weird bed that really should be running the other direction. But you know, when there are fences, you do what you do. I know I want to make a video about this bed that I call my flower bed of frustration, because I think that my process with it could help other people learn how to grow in difficult places on their property and in their gardens, and what that looks like. Notice I only bought one Abelia, and it's probably going to take, you know, an entire growing season to determine whether or not she's happy there. But I'm not going to put a bunch in because I don't know if they're gonna go well. But if so, I will probably put in some more Abelias next winter. Back in my greenhouse, it's a little chilly outside, and the little bit of warmth and protection from my greenhouse, which is unheated right now, is really nice. Just, you know, it's a little too cold outside for just my sweatshirt. But this is the time of year for us that's really good to plant bare root or dormant or plants, or to move them. I actually have a California lilac I need to move to, but I need to decide where to put it, and I need to do that this week. So I'll be thinking about that. And that's another thing that I do during this time of year that kind of helps me get outside. And even though the garden doesn't bring me the same type of joy, I'm happy to tend to her and to have something to do with something that's living, that helps me be hopeful and anticipate the next growing season. Another thing that I can do this time of year that kind of helps me get ready and anticipate and prepare for spring is on days that it's not raining, I can come out and place cardboard in the raised beds. Now these areas are not sheet mulched. I do a lot of sheet mulching on my property and in my garden, but the raised beds are not sheet mulched. However, I do cover them with cardboard in the winter because here in the Pacific Northwest, weeds grow year round. We don't get a break from weeds. So they grow slower in the winter, but as you can see back there, like my grass is green. It's not dead. It's not, that's one of the beauties and the frustrations of the Pacific Northwest. So I use cardboard to cover my beds. You can see the ones back here they've already been covered. And then I just did this one. I'm covering a few more. That was my tomato bed. So the tomato plants had all died and composted down to just like their stalks, and they were all down. So I was able to put cardboard over them. You can see we still have, like, there's still kale and other things in some of the other beds. So now I'm making the decision as to whether they're still valuable for food and I'm going to keep them, or whether it's just time to cut them out and cover with cardboard to help with weed prevention. This cardboard later in the spring will be used for sheet mulching somewhere else, but it won't stay here. It's just to prevent weeds from growing during the early spring. I wanted to show you I got a new tool. It's called a hori hori, and it's a Japanese digging tool, but it also has a serrated edge, which is really great for cutting out like big brassica stalks or sunflower stalks. So I'm out giving it its maiden run today. Okay, well, after an hour of work, the garden's looking quite a bit different. I did want to mention I pulled out, so the hori hori turned out to not be the best tool for what I was doing. I think it's going to be great for some other things, spring planting and things, but I did pull out my trusty machete, which was the appropriate tool for the job, and got those stalks cut out. I cut down my stalks of my sunflowers and my brassicas and most everything instead of pulling them out to help minimize soil disruption. So this isn't the most glamorous look, but it is functional, and it does, it's also economical, so it's very available to everybody. I get my boxes from all over the place, but HVAC places always have big pieces of cardboard. So do appliance stores. So those are good places. So you can see I still left some Swiss chard peeking out. I cut down most of the kale, but left the 2 healthiest plants. I left this little bit of celery because it's the only celery that I have, and my lovage isn't up yet. So just to have that little flavor in my soups. The tomato bed is covered. This bed still has beets growing in it right here. And these are sprouting broccolis, and they haven't produced any broccoli, but I'm decided to leave them. Also, I ran out of cardboard. So I thought I had a ton, but I left it folded in half to kind of give it some additional support, and also that helps it for when I use it later, that it's not so broken down. I also decided to sacrifice the cabbages. That one is left that one is left because I didn't have enough cardboard to cover this whole area, so I'm going to need to gather some more. And then I broke down what was left of the old straw bales to put in places where I don't necessarily want cardboard because of the garlic. And that's and the compost pile is not as big as it has been, but if you've seen some other videos, you know that this has been really big, and there's a good demonstration of how much it will break down. There's no reason to take your green waste out of your garden. Just choose a spot, put it in there. At least where I live, and in most places, by the end of the winter, this will be broken down enough that I can just rake it out and plant into it. I harvested quite a bit of kale off of the kale plants that I took out, so I will go inside and clean it, chop it, and freeze it to use in soups. Oh, and in smoothies. Okay, it's a couple of days later. I came inside after I did that work in the garden, wanted to film the end of this, and there's construction going on in my house. We have some plumbing problems that needed to be taken care of, and so it was just too noisy, particularly for what I wanted to talk about. And I just wanted to finish up talking about seasonal sadness, just like, even if you don't suffer from seasonal depression. I don't know that I could say that I suffer from seasonal depression. I just feel off and like tired during the winter. And I wanted to talk about learning to embrace that, instead of telling myself that there's something wrong, that embracing the idea that it's time to rest, and that it's okay for me to rest, and it's okay for me to have less productive times, just like the garden, that I can take my cues from my garden and rest and just do a few things to prepare for the really productive season to make it easier. I also wanted to talk about ways to bring the sun back into our lives. And if you go back to the very beginning, the first videos I posted this channel were some meditation classes. I have taught meditation for several years. That was my first attempt ever at doing something through a screen. To me, meditation is best done in person. If you're going to do it together with people, it should be done in a group without digital interference, which the pandemic has helped me to grow in that way, to be able to connect better with people through a screen. And that was a big stretch for me. This is a big stretch for me. But it has been such a blessing to me. So I am grateful for it, and I'm grateful for that. So the last thing I wanted to share is a short meditation that I've been using for years. My friend Desha taught me this meditation. It resonated with me so strongly that I've been using it for years and years. And it's called the Golden Sun. And I wanted to share that meditation with you as a way to bring the sun back into your life during these overcast, cloudy days when you are longing for the sun. So if you'd like to join me in that meditation, we'll do that now. Start off by taking several deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And picture your breathing, cleansing and relaxing your body. Letting the tension flow out on your out breaths and breathing in the coolness and the calmness of winter. And as you settle into a good, comfortable position, I want you to picture a sun, a small sun. This is your personal sun that sits just above your head. Just right over your head is a small sun, maybe the size of a golf ball or a baseball. It's your personal sun. And right now, in the depths of winter, when we perhaps are resisting nature's call to rest, our sun feels depleted. So in this meditation, we're going to refill our sun. So hold that picture of your sun above your head in your mind. And as you're holding that image, let the times that you have expended light on behalf of someone else, these are times that you've served, times that you've been kind to other people, times that you have used your energy for the benefit of your fellow humans. This could be making dinner, could be your day job. It could be listening to a friend who is struggling. Let the times that you have performed these acts of light and these acts of service come to your mind. Hold one of them in your mind and recall the light and energy from that act back into your own personal sun. Draw it back into your sun and let it fill your sun up with light. And now let a second act of light, act of service come to your mind. And recall the energy from that act of light back into your sun and let it refill your sun. Maybe your energy looks like sparkles drifting back into your sun to fill it up, drawn like a magnet at your request. Or maybe it comes quickly, zapping back to you like lightning. Maybe it's like a shooting star that arches up into the sky and is called home to your sun. Your energy will look different from my energy, and you'll know what your energy looks like, how you imagine it. go ahead and choose another act of light. Hold that memory for a moment, and then recall the energy from that act back into your sun. And as you continue to do this, your personal sun will start to grow in size. It will get larger and larger the more energy, the more light that you recall to it. And as your sun grows larger and larger, you begin to feel the warmth on your back and your shoulders. And it begins to warm your insides. And when your sun is very large as you feel it needs to be for you, in your mind's eye, reach up and take a hold of your sun above your head. Lift it up and crack it over your head like it's an egg, like it's a giant sun-filled golden egg. And when you crack open your egg, a small crack appears, and right from the top of your head, the energy begins to flow down into you, filling you up from the top to the bottom. And it flows down into your shoulders and your spine and fills up down your arms and into your fingers. It fills up your heart. It warms and relaxes your belly. And it flows down into your legs and into your toes until it seeps out into the floor. And all around you, the space fills with light and sun and loveliness. And maybe this energy flowing out of your sun feels like sand to you, flowing through an hourglass. Maybe it feels like liquid. We sometimes talk about liquid sunshine here. Maybe that's what it feels like. My son says his feels like lava flowing through him. That's just right for his personality. Breathe in this light and this joy and let it warm you and bring joy into you. And as your sun fills you up, remember that your sun is an infinite source of light that you can recall after expending that energy. Whenever you are missing the sun, remember that you carry your own personal sun and your own personal light. And as you act in service and perform acts of light, you can recall that light, you can fill your sun, and you can renew that warmth and goodness within you. I hope that helps you feel warm and connected to the sun, and also allows you to sit in the winter time, in this restful time, and give yourself permission to sit and to rest. And that's the Golden Sun meditation. It's a favorite here at our house. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful to you. I will talk to you next time.